Welcome back to the Hoops Temple podcast. Y'all know me, Nathan Schwartz, and joining me in the greater Boston area, I'm guessing, Iangelo, aka Iangelo. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you today, Nate?
Doing well, doing well. Well, and Ian, you're coming on here to talk some Boston Celtics. So, for those who usually see my setup, I've had to really adorn myself with as much Lakers gear as I could find and get near me. I don't know. Ian, are you a biblical man at all?
Uh no, not really, no. But
You understand the concept of like adorning yourself with biblical armor before you go into the enemy's den. Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
was
I've
kind of
seen
my concept here is if I'm going to bring on a Celtics fan and talk glowingly about Boston, which I think is only right to do. You guys have now claimed the most titles. You've got that singularly. It's no longer a tie. You're coming off an amazing season and looks like you're going into a very good season. I just had to shield myself with as much Lakers garb as possible.
I was gonna say keep going. I'm loving it, so
Well, let me hear from you. What does this championship mean to you? This 2024. You finally get one with the Tatum and Brown. How are the spirits in Boston?
honestly, I don't think they've ever been higher. You would think like it doesn't even matter if the Red Sox or the Patriots or the Bruins are bad teams or not like competing teams right now. The Celtics championship will probably hold over the city of Boston for like another decade or so, or however long the 2008 championship ring did. So, but but yeah, honestly, spirits are high, and I don't think there's anything that'll probably get them down right now. So
There's not going to be like a mid-season little falter, and there's some sniping between Tatum and Brown. You've solved all of that.
I would hope so. I mean, if there is, then that probably wouldn't end well for us. But for what I've seen, I think Tatum and Brown have figured out how to play together. And I think
Mhm.
that's a scary thing for the NBA because kind of for the last 7 years, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is your turn, my turn kind of thing. But they don't really do that anymore. They kind of play in a system. And as you saw, the system works and they just won a championship with it.
Fair enough. All right. Well then, before we wrap up last season, I just want to propose a toast to your Celtics for taking the championship belt. And so I brought my one piece of Boston memorabilia here, a classic Boondock Saint shot glass. And since it's 10 a.m., it's just going to be a little bit of. I thought that would be greener, just Baja Blast Mountain Dew. So,
Alrighty.
cheers to Boston!
Cheers.
Congratulations, you have the belt for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Off-season talk. Joe Mazzulla. This man seems like a lunatic to me. He seems crazy. What's been your favorite Joe Mazzulla moment of the off-season?
I personally absolutely love Joe Mazzulla. I think my favorite moment was at the parade when he got absolutely hyped. I don't know if you remember seeing the video of him like jumping up and down off the duck boat when he still had a torn meniscus.
I did not watch any of the Celtics parade. I will
Oh, okay.
fully tell you that.
But no, there was a time
What
where
happened?
they were coming down the street and Joe Mazzulla was like jumping up and down from the duck boat. And one time he completely jumped off the duck boat and like went to go high five fans and stuff like that, all on a torn meniscus. And it looked like
Oh,
he was
God.
moving like there was nothing wrong.
Hey, I hear championship joy and a good bottle of Hennessy will do that to a man.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And obviously his quote with the red dot on your forehead is also one that had me ready to run through a brick wall for him right now. So
That is a prime quote. Did you listen to him appear on the Zach Lowe podcast?
I think so. I can't remember which one that was, but I do remember listening to like all the podcasts that he was on. So
He did like a whole bit on like heist movies and wanting to like be a guy that plans heists and like
oh yeah,
cracks
yeah, yeah.
safes. Man's a weirdo, but I'm kind of here for it. Like that's fun. I mean, like, as a Lakers fan, Phil Jackson's a big part, and you listen to some of the crazy things Phil says, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's par for the course. I feel like with championship
I mean,
coaches.
listen, this was a guy who took on DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall in the NCAA and beat them with West Virginia. So, and he
Yeah.
was playing the box and one, and he was the 5. So,
Wait, how
probably
tall is Joe Mass?
he's not that tall. I think he's like maybe 6 foot.
Really?
He's like 6 foot or 6'1", I think.
Guy should not be the 5 in a box and one.
That's what I'm saying. And like it works for them, I guess, right?
I guess. All right. I gotta sow a little bit of
That's
discord.
that's what it says.
Oh, all right. I gotta sow a little bit of discord here. Because the Celtics, their offseason wasn't without turmoil. Tatum getting benched in the Olympics, Jaylen Brown and his kind of comments here. I don't really care about any of that. Do you care about any of that? Is that a problem? Were either of those negatives for you?
No, I never really cared, honestly. Like maybe in the moment when Tatum first got benched, I was like, "Wait, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
why is he not playing?" And then I don't know. I mean, I personally thought it was worse that Jaylen Brown didn't even get considered for it, eh, just because I thought he just won Finals MVP. You would assume
Hmm.
that you would want that guy,
He's
as
a
part
good
of the
fit for
Olympics,
Kawhi.
but that's what I was saying. Like I thought he would have been the perfect fit for Kawhi, but they chose Derek White, and I'm not gonna be mad about Derek White being there either. So, but yeah,
Absolutely.
it was a little weird, but no, it didn't really bother me too much. I was just it had me more hyped for this season coming up. So,
Does it worry you at all that the other notable thing for Jason Tatum over this offseason was him getting a tattoo of the All-Star Game MVP? Does that make you worry that he's given up on winning the actual MVP or a Finals MVP, and he's just said All-Star MVP? That's my peak.
uh, no, I don't think so. I mean, he was just on Jimmy Fallon last night, and they asked him who he thinks his MVP is going to be, and he said himself. So I think he's still very much on the train to
Still a
try to get
confident man.
MVP. I
I'm
think
gonna
so. I think so. I think he's still ready for it.
I have to pull up that Fallon episode. I didn't know he was on it, and frankly, with a newborn, I've been going to bed at like 6 p.m. and then
Oh yeah,
getting up at 2 a.m. Remember, that was today, so
yeah, I
that
can
might
imagine.
be that might be my evening television tonight. All right, well
Oh,
let's look at this season here. BetGM as of like a month ago put the Celtics over under at 58 and a half wins. Last season Celtics got 64. Kristaps is going to miss significant time. How are you feeling about that over under?
honestly, I still think the Celtics can hit the over, even without Kristaps. The Celtics showed last season that they were able to play without him for long periods of time, especially during the playoffs. Like he only played 5 games of that entire playoff run. Well, not 5 games. It was either 5 or 7. It was one of those two. But he played the first 2.5 against Miami, came back and played game 1 again in the NBA Finals, and then played game 5 of the NBA Finals. So the Celtics were able to play without him to win a championship. So the fact that he's just going to be out for a longer period of time, I think the Celtics are going to be perfectly fine. And I think they just need him healthy for the playoffs.
Any concerns about Horford not holding up? I mean, Horford's
I
old.
mean, the thing with Horford is he is something insane because the way he keeps his body prepared is absolutely
Hmm.
insane. Like we talk about LeBron's longevity and like Katie and Steph and stuff, but like I mean, Al Horford is still doing it at 38 years old, and he's still a starting center on a championship team. He's not the main guy, but he's still a serviceable, good center, and he's still shooting 40% from three. So honestly, if he can just give them anything, I think the Celtics are going to be fine.
Yeah, I feel like he's done a really good job of scaling back his minutes. It's to where, hey, he doesn't need to play 35. If he's out there for 20, those are 20 good minutes that you're getting. I do
Yeah.
kind of worry about him ramping it up though and needing to play 30 over the course of the season. Do you think any of the other like Celtics backup bigs Cada, Luke Cornett, Tillman, any of those guys going to be primed for a larger role this season?
So with the way that they kind of use them, it doesn't really seem like, one's going to be like the main guy when it comes to being like a backup off the bench. They normally just kind of throw him in whenever the matchup is right. So there were
Hmm.
games last year where they would have Luke Cornett start. Like there was a game against the Raptors where he started and he dropped like 20 points and he was really good. But there were other games where you're playing a more physical big. Luke Cornett doesn't really hold up very well. And that's when you would probably throw in Xavier Tillman. And I don't know. I personally really like Nemias Queta. I don't
Hmm.
think he's not going to be like the main guy that they plug in, but I think he's going to get a lot of run early in the year, like he did last year, just because I think they like his potential. He kind of reminds me of Robert Williams, so if
Yeah,
he can turn into something like that, then I think the Celtics will be really happy with that.
I can see that. He's got some of the disruptiveness, good athlete. Not the most skilled, but out of the three backup bigs, definitely the highest athletic potential.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, I mean, it's just going to be kind of cycling through Cornet and Tillman the entire time especially when it comes to back to backs, because Al Horford doesn't play back to backs, so
Yeah.
it'll pretty much just be Cornet and Tillman mostly.
What about some Tatum at the five?
See, I thought about it, and like, I don't know how often they're going to run that, just because it didn't work incredibly well during the playoffs. Like I remember they ran it during the Indiana series and like it worked for like one or two plays, but then Indiana's like, yeah, we can still score on this. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll definitely try it for sure. And I mean, we saw in the finals that Tatum was able to neutralize bigs when it came to Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. So it wouldn't shock me if they tried it more.
I think situationally it might work. And if you've got the opposing team's big who is not that much of a post presence or really not that much of a physical rebounder guy, he's going to try to space out a little bit. Tatum at five probably makes sense. Like, I don't know, if you're
For
playing
sure.
San Antonio and it's Victor Wembanyama, no one's got the size to deal with him. You might as well put Tatum out there and just try to space and play with length.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, Tatum, he can hold his own on the block too when it kind of gets time to do that. So
Hmm.
I would, I give all the confidence in the world that I think he'll be fine with it.
Fair enough. Well, I was going to ask you about some of the other guys that are either newcomers or are not in the Celtics main rotation. Those kind of more, wing players. Since we already talked about the bigs a bit, but then I saw on TikTok you were already posting Jaden Springer propaganda. What's Talk to me about Springer? How excited are we?
I personally am very high on Jaden Springer. At least just watching him in Philadelphia before he got traded to Boston, he kind of reminded me of like an Avery Bradley kind of player
Hmm.
where he was an elite defensive guard. At least it feels like watching him because I remember I think it was the game before he got traded to Boston. The 76ers were playing the Warriors and he was like the prime defender on Steph Curry and he was doing a pretty decent job with it. And he's only 22 years old and he had one game in the summer league this year and he dropped like 26 points and he had like three threes. So if his shot can stay consistent enough, I think he'll easily find a way to crack the Celtics rotation, at least as a guy, kind of like what O'Shea Brissett did, where he's just kind of an energy guy that kind of comes in just to play defense and kind of cause
Hmm.
havoc.
I was kind of wondering about but Drew Holiday. He's also getting a little bit older. Maybe you start resting him on back to backs.
Oh yeah,
Springer being that defensive kind of linchpin can better replicate what Drew does. Like, I mean, Peyton Pritchard, you need a guy to hit a three-quarter court shot to end a quarter. That's PP's specialty. But defense, I like what Springer can bring.
yeah. I think he's gonna be pretty good. And I guess if I had to go another guy, I think it would be really interesting to see what the Celtics draft picks do. Baylor Shireman, if you don't know, is actually the first round pick that Brad Stevens has ever made as the GM of the Celtics.
Well, wait, Stevens has only been the GM for like what, two
For like
seasons
2 or
now?
3 years, yeah, but, like,
Yeah.
he's traded the first round pick the other 2 years, so Shireman's technically his first round pick, and I don't know, his passing upside is kind of interesting to me because, like, just watching him in college and in summer league, he's a really good passer when it comes to it. Like, for a wing player, he just kind of always knows how to make the right play. So I think if he could get his shot consistently, it all matters if you can shoot in this offense. So
Hmm.
if you can have your shot consistently hitting, he could also find himself with minutes. And I also like Anton Watson. He's just kind of, I don't know, he's just a guy that does everything. Kind of reminds me of like Al Horford in a little bit, just watching him in summer league because he was doing everything on the court. But
Having
yeah,
having players that make that quick pass that like it, I think Missoula says like 0.5 seconds and it's making those decisions that it just makes beautiful basketball. It doesn't
oh
matter like what your other skills are. If you move the ball well, it goes a long ways.
for sure, for sure, and that's pretty much how the Celtics offense was playing last year. So, and I think they're going to be perfectly fine, honestly, no matter who ends up coming out with, what playing time comes with what. So, but yeah, I think Joe Mazzulla will definitely experiment with like a lot of guys to begin the year, just
Hmm.
because I don't know, they can. So they have enough pieces that they can do something like that. So it'll be exciting to watch.
That's always fun. Like I like trying to see the different labs, figuring out what works in the beginning. But speaking of the beginning, have you had a chance to look at the Celtics start of the season cupcake schedule?
I did see the beginning of the schedule, yes.
I get Boston's really good. Boston will probably win 60 games this season again. But do we have to give you guys this cupcake of a schedule?
I mean, it's not that much of a cupcake. They do play the Bucks. They play the Pacers, and the Warriors. Like it's not too bad.
Hey, the Lakers starting 10 games are the T Wolves, Phoenix twice, Sacramento, Philly.
They gotta get you on
So
prime time, man. Come on.
God, get
How are
those league pass games.
they, how are
Got
they
to make
supposed to
sure
get you on prime time if you're playing like the Wizards or something? Come on.
we need to play the Wizards on prime time. How else are we going to have LeBron and Bronny out there at the same time?
True. True.
Expect us to
You
do
need
that against Phoenix?
Oh man, my friend, he's a huge LeBron fan. And he told me like once Bronny does the alley oop to LeBron, because we all know it's gonna come eventually, he's going to make it like his video screensaver thing. So
God, it'll happen, but man, I I don't know if it's going to happen in the NBA. I'm going to be honest with you.
it
I
happened in
haven't fully
preseason.
I haven't fully fleshed out this tank, but I feel like LeBron may get injured at some point this season and may rehab with the G League team for a game, so that way him and Bronny can get some real minutes together.
Oh yeah. That'll be like the most watched G League game ever. So
Oh, it's gonna put G League on the map across the world. They'll pivot. They'll take away the League Pass game from Pacers, and I don't know who the Pacers Grizzlies no longer on League Pass. Now it's the LA Defenders versus the Fort Wayne Mad Ants.
that'll be an insane watch.
All right, but Celtics first 10 games this season. Knicks at home, Wizards on the road, Pistons on the road, Bucks at home, road against the Pacers, back-to-back road games against the Hornets, Hawks, except Atlanta, then the Warriors are coming to Boston, and Brooklyn's coming to Boston. What will the Celtics records be after 10 games?
So I said 8-2 just because I think there's a chance that one of the three games against Milwaukee, Indiana, or either the Knicks or the Warriors end up in a loss. So I said 8-2. I feel like it's a fair start.
I think you're underselling yourself.
Really, you're thinking 10-0 or something?
I think 9-1 is probably the safe estimate. If I was putting a line out there, it'd be 9-1. Because yeah, sure, maybe either the Knicks or the Bucks, but those are the
I don't
home
know.
games. Like
True, true. I think the Bucks game will definitely be the game that you can go up in the air on. But don't sleep on the Pacers. Anytime the Celtics go to Indiana,
Yeah.
something happens. So, I mean, there were a couple of games last year where the Celtics went to Indiana. They lost in the play-in game. They lost another game that Tatum didn't play in, that Brown dropped like 40 on, and they still lost. So I don't know. It's some about Indiana that the Celtics just sometimes there's just tough games in Indiana.
I feel like Indiana, they've got the pace, they've got the high volume 3-point shooting. Their variance, like they can steal games off of good teams, but they're also going to drop those same games against the Hornets, against the Nets.
Oh
It's a wild card.
for sure. They'll definitely be up there, I think, in the East, though, just because of their fast paced offense. And if Halliburton can stay healthy, I think he'll also put up another great season, kind of like what they were doing on their play-in run. So
yeah, there's like only seven. There's only 7 good teams in the East. You got the Celtics, the Bucks, the 76ers, Knicks, Cavs, Magic, and Pacers. I guess maybe you call the Heat. That'll be the playoff teams.
yeah, that's normally what it is. I mean, if you want to throw Atlanta in there, if Trae Young just like drops like 36 a game, or maybe if you want to throw the Raptors in because Scotty Barnes has some insane, leap in year 4 for Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
So it's like there's like things that could happen, but like you're probably gonna end up with another play-in game of Hawks Bulls or something. So yeah, the East is kind of isn't as fun as the West. But I don't know. I've been starting to think of the argument. Let me know how you think about this. I personally think there might be only 3 teams in the Western Conference that are actually legitimate contenders. But like there's a lot
Ooh.
of good teams in the West, but I think there's only 3 teams that are legitimate contenders. I think it's the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves.
I definitely think those are the 3 best teams. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anyone.
I said
I hate
maybe
to,
Dallas, but I don't really believe in them that much.
yeah, I think Dallas made several good lateral moves to where if there's some injuries and they can get hot at the right times, they can get there. But I don't see them getting hot enough and lucky enough to beat the right teams in the right sequence to get it there. My other thought is Phoenix, because Phoenix, and I hate to be this guy because I feel like this guy's usually for the Lakers or usually for the Warriors, where it's like they've got the stars, they just need to figure it out, and they never do. But it was the first year of everyone being together in Phoenix. Beal was hurt half the season. KD missed a fair amount of time. They've now added in some competent point guards. They've now kind of filled out their roster in maybe a better way. I'm still not fully confident that they've got the right pieces, but I'm a little hesitant to count them out entirely.
Yeah, and I mean you could never really count out any other team in the West. Like we said, the Mavericks just made the finals out of the entire
Mm-hmm.
kind of playoff run. So it wouldn't shock me if there was another team that kind of came up. Like, I mean, maybe the Lakers stay healthy and everything goes well this year somehow, and you guys are a legit contender. Or maybe
No.
the Steph Curry drags the Warriors. So that was the other thing I was thinking about is the Warriors. If Steph Curry kind of just like goes back to like back in like 2020, 21 when he just kind of had like the 3rd place MVP finish. If we see that kind of season out of him this year, just because he's kind of the only one left.
I think it's going to take more of like a turn back the clock season from Draymond, where he is both a rim protector and a defensive ace that can get out on people while being competent offensively. And I feel like a lot of times Draymond focuses on one end of the floor or the other, and he's either not protecting the rim and trying to do too much offensively, or he's just defense and there's no offense. If you can get like a good balanced Draymond year where him and Steph have that synergy again, maybe. But I'm cool with the annual play-in game between LeBron and Curry, and that being the highlight of both teams' season.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Listen,
it's been fun.
I adorn myself with lots of Lakers stuff. I am a Lakers fan, but I like to think of myself as somewhat of a realist.
Yeah.
If we're doing championship odds, the Lakers maybe have the 11th best. championship odd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say
the above,
probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
yeah, the above mentioned Western Conference teams: Celtics, Knicks, Bucks, 76ers. You know,
Oh yeah.
notice Aaron, because I know you're going to listen to this, Mr. Possible Chairs. We didn't say the Kings.
Ooh.
Kings not in this conversation.
I mean, the Kings could be cool. I like DeRozan.
Shh, don't give him that. Don't give him that. Listen, when has DeRozan ever beat LeBron? That's
True.
their big piece, that they're going to finally have a better season than the Lakers. You got DeMar DeRozan? Nah, get out of
Ugh. I take it you're not high on the Kings.
here. I just have to give Aaron some crap about it because yeah, we do this pod every week together. We text a
Yeah.
fair amount. You know, I hear a lot of anti-Lakers sentiment from him, so gotta push back when I can. But while we're talking contenders, what contender, contender-ish, kind of scares you that you're like, maybe we got a bad matchup against them, maybe it always goes wrong? What team, playoff series, do you think has the best chance of beating the Celtics?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this is taking in consideration the fact that they're healthy, even though there's a good chance that they probably won't be. I said that the Bucks kind of give them the best series in my opinion. I mean,
Mhm.
out of last year, the Bucks blew out the Celtics like twice on the road when the Celtics came to Milwaukee. One of them was off a back-to-back, so, give it that what you will. And I don't know, a healthy Bucks team with Lillard and Middleton and Giannis, it kind of feels like the perfect matchup against the Celtics because that was kind of one thing that we've never seen the Celtics play a dominant big when it came to a playoff run. So I feel like if Giannis is there, I mean, Al Horford's gonna have to do a lot in that
Yeah.
series when it comes to trying to defend Giannis. And like Porzingis can try. I don't put it past him, but if he's coming back from injury, he might not be, 100% when it comes to time to actually play in that series. So I think a healthy Bucks team would give me kind of pause, but I don't know. I don't know if they're ever going to be healthy again because every year in the playoffs, somebody gets hurt when it comes to Milwaukee. Either it's Middleton or it's Giannis the last couple of years. Even Dame got hurt last year.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We'll have to see.
I
But I
feel
think
like
the Bucks would be the team.
I feel like the last couple of years, my offseason preview for the Bucks has been like, this is the year Middleton's finally healthy and they figure it out, and then it just doesn't happen. So I think I have to finally zag away from that and just be like, listen, Middleton's done. I mean,
Yeah.
not done, but like 15 points per game, 28 minutes a night. Like, he's not what he was.
Yeah. And like I do want to say something. I don't really want to sound cocky when it comes to this, but like I really don't see another contender in the Eastern Conference when it comes to the Celtics.
Ooh. Ooh.
Like I was just talking about the healthy Bucks. I think they would be contenders, but we never know if they're actually going to be healthy. Now,
What
the
about
Knicks,
76ers?
I don't believe in the 76ers. I really don't. I mean, you're going to have Joel Embiid, who, if he somehow makes it healthy to the playoffs, sure, we'll maybe give him a chance, even though he's one of the biggest playoff droppers in the NBA. Paul George, who is another known playoff dropper, and Tyrese
Hmm.
Maxey, who's really good. I like Tyrese Maxey. And then you have a bunch of guys around them who are hit or miss. And granted, you don't have Tobias Harris anymore, so you probably have a better chance. But at the same
Listen,
time,
Gershon Yabusele doesn't miss.
true, true. But he's not playing LeBron, so he can't dunk on him. So anyway, but yeah, the Sixers, like, I don't know. I just don't see it. Like, if Embiid
Yeah,
can play the full season and be healthy for the playoffs, sure. But it just never happens. So
yeah. Call you when it happens.
exactly. This is the year I jump off the 76ers, kind of the way you're jumping off the Bucks. I don't care if you added Paul George. I don't think it matters.
I did a pod with Dylan a few weeks ago, and I was just like, I don't care about the Paul George move. You were a contender if Embiid's healthy before. You're a contender if Embiid's healthy afterwards. Adding other pieces around the margin, it's great, fine.
Exactly.
But like, if Embiid's hurt, that's a first round exit. That's, I mean, maybe second round because the East has some weak teams. But like, it's all Embiid's health, and we just haven't seen Embiid be healthy.
Exactly. And like, you know, Grant, he's kind of been the reason as to why they haven't been able to do anything in the playoffs over the years. Just because, I mean, let's say even if he's healthy, is he still gonna be the same dominant guy he was in a playoff series when you can actually scheme for him in a 7-game series? Like, I'm not saying he won't be, but at the same time, we've never seen it. So how would we
Mm-hmm.
know if he can actually, hold up to this kind of MVP stature? I think the closest he was healthiest was in 22 when they played, or not 22, 23 when they played the Celtics.
Mm.
And they were up 3-2 going back to Philadelphia. They had a chance to clinch it. And Tatum was literally having the worst game of his career through the first 3 quarters. And then he hit like 4 threes in the fourth quarter and they completely melted. And then obviously dropped 51 in game 7. So I don't know. I just don't believe in the 76ers anymore.
I was going to say that his healthiest run was 2019, where they got beat by the Raptors, and you had Marcus Saul and
Yeah.
Serge Ibaka. And like Embiid is better than he was in 2019. He's improved, but like neither of those guys were in their primes, and I think the Celtics have good options to throw at him. And if not, they at least have the hack a Shaq method of we can throw a lot of guys at him and just wear him down, kind of what Team USA
Yeah.
did against Jokic. We'll just stream these bigs and they'll eventually wear you down. You can't maintain the energy against them all.
Hey, Drew Holiday was playing against Embiid last year. And there was like one matchup. There was a matchup earlier in the year where Drew Holiday was the primary defender on Joel Embiid, and it worked. So we'll see.
What's what's it gonna take for Drew Holiday to be all the defensive first team or in the DPOY conversation?
That's
I
what I
need
want to
this.
know. Like, geez, that's what I want to know.
I've been doing a deep dive on box plus minus, and like how it works as a stat, what the calculations are, and where its biases are. And it's just a hot garbage stat for defense, basically. And guys like
Yeah,
Drew Holiday who go out there and play amazing defense, but don't rack up like a high number of steals per minute or steals per possession. Like they look so bad at it. He looks worse than Jordan McLaughlin and out in
no,
Minnesota. And I'm just like, Drew is a great defensive player. Can we put some respect on his name?
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. I wrote an article for Celtics blog talking about Drew Holiday's Hall of Fame probability, and it was like, so yes, Drew Holiday will not have the All NBA teams that every other guy point guard in the 2010s had. But granted, he was competing with some of the greatest point guards we've ever seen.
Mhm.
Like, you had Steph Curry, you had James Harden, you had Russell Westbrook, you had Klay Thompson, you had even Kemba Walker back when he was really good. You had all of these guys, and Drew Holiday was never going to have the scoring numbers to ever even have an All NBA chance. Like his highest points per game in the season is like 21.8 or something,
Yeah.
and that still wouldn't have even been close to making an All NBA team. And the closest he ever made was the year the Bucks won the championship, and he had like 39 votes in total. So Drew will never get the respect he deserves because of his scoring numbers, but he's 6-time all defensive team,
Hmm.
obviously 2-time champion with, two of the biggest, it kind of felt like two big kind of like curse breakers, if you want to say. Like Milwaukee didn't win one in 50 years, and the Celtics obviously didn't win one until 2016. And it's funny when he both went there, they won the championship the first year he was there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Drew Holiday will never get the respect he deserves, and he should be a Hall of Famer in my opinion. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
He's like guard version Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, Mutombo, center in the 90s. You're going up against Shaq, Ewing, David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon. You're not making all NBA teams.
For
It's
sure.
not
That's
happening.
never gonna happen.
But that doesn't mean he's not good. That doesn't mean he's not great. What he does.
Exactly. Who's the primary defender on all of those guys over the course of 10
Yeah,
years or so? It was Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's there, and he's still doing it. He has a
yeah.
chance to add even more to his resume. I can't
Also,
believe this is 16th season coming up. I couldn't believe
listen,
that when I looked at it. I'm like, geez.
I, you know, I feel like growing up, you see NBA players retire at 30, like 4, and you're like, that's so like that you don't quite have the concept of age. Now that I'm in that age range and I wake up and I'm like, oh, I just slept wrong. My back is aching, my knees crack. Like, I have this newfound respect for NBA players. It's like I had a huge respect when I was like 18-year-olds were getting drafted to the NBA. Like, and now being like 32 and seeing these guys like get out there and playing through these aches and pains. And I'm like, oh, what they're doing. It just, you know, you appreciate it more when you start feeling it for yourself.
Yeah, I can imagine. I felt the year the year I felt old was the year that Zion got drafted, and because that was the first year that somebody in my graduation year from
Hmm.
from high school got drafted into the NBA, and I'm like, oh geez, yeah, it's all downhill from here. and then, Anthony Edwards and Lamelo, and now you got Wembanyama, and it's like I couldn't even imagine Wembanyama being a person that would even be close to getting drafted.
Yeah, like I hooped against Justin Jackson at a tournament down uh, Kansas City, St. Louis. I don't know, Oklahoma City. I'm in Michigan. We drove for some tournaments back when I was younger, and like, yeah, I was a senior. He was like a sophomore. And a few years later, I'm watching him get drafted to the NBA, and like he didn't have a great career, but it still was just like I hooped against this guy. I remember the challenge of this, and now he's playing against other guys like that I can't dream of playing. So
Hey, the New England pipeline is coming to the NBA. We got Cooper Flag and AJ
yeah,
Debanza is coming. I'm excited to see some New England representation coming up soon, because I think the best player. I can't remember who the best. I think the best player to come out of Massachusetts was the Dwight Powell. I think.
oh
No,
god,
not.
I wouldn't claim that. I would
No,
just
I would say Marcus Camby, because he went to University of Massachusetts. Uh, let's see, best NBA players.
just lean back in the olden days. Go for Bob Cousy went to Holy Cross and some of
Yeah,
those.
Bob Cousy. Bob Cousy went to Holy Cross. We'll go with Bob Cousy, because I mean, we had Bill Lambier. It's not too bad.
Not
We
bad,
had
not bad. He feels like a Massachusetts guy from the outsider perspective.
oh yeah, he was from Boston. We had Dana Barros. I like Dana Barros. He was solid. I
Early
guess
three
I guess the
point
most
king.
yeah. I would say like the most recent players would be Nerlens Noel, Michael Carter Williams, and Pat Connaughton, and Shabazz Napier. Those are the most recent guys to come out of Massachusetts. Oh,
Patty
Bruce Brown
maybe
too.
just
I can't forget
oh
Bruce Brown, NBA
yeah.
champion Bruce Brown.
I'm just gonna say Pat Connaughton may be like the most Irish Catholic guy. Like first off, just Pat Connaughton from Boston, Massachusetts. Then he played college ball at Notre Dame. Like just checking off Irish Catholic stereotypes.
Uh, you'll love to see it. Oh wait, we can't forget about Georges Niang and Noah
I think we
Vonleh.
can. I think
I
we
think
can forget
I think
about
we
those
can.
guys. All right, I got
Yeah.
two final questions. I told you I'd only have you here for 20, 30 minutes. I've got you here for 40. Um, last couple of years, Tatum has finished sixth, fourth, and sixth in MVP voting. Jaylen Brown has never gotten an MVP vote. Which happens this season? Does Tatum break the top three, or does Jaylen Brown start getting MVP votes?
Low-key, I think there's a chance for both. I think
Sure.
there's a chance. I think. I mean, granted, you could say this is Boston, Boston homer type thing, but I think this is the legitimate year Jason Tatum wins MVP. Just because
Ooh.
I feel like this is the year that he has the most legitimate chance. Like, I feel like, I don't think it could happen, but voter fatigue is a thing. they might not want to vote Nikola Jokic another MVP. We all know how amazing Nikola Jokic is, but it doesn't feel like they want to vote another MVP for him.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid, I don't think will be healthy enough to be in the conversation. So I think if I had to go top 3, I would probably end up with Tatum, SGA, and Luka when it comes to the 3 top MVP candidates. And I think SGA has a really good chance of winning it as well. But if there's going to be any year that Jason Tatum has a chance to actually win it, it would probably be this year because Kristaps Porzingis is going to be out to start the year. Someone's going to have to make up that production, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to have to do that. So if Tatum can even be close to what he was in 23 when he was averaging like 30 points a game, but let's say he's more improved passer because his passing has been
Yeah.
really good over the last few years. If he can average, 6 assists a game, 7 assists a game, like 28 points, 7 assists, and he still has like 10 rebounds a game, like, and the Celtics are still the number 1 seed. I feel like he could win it this year. And Jaylen Brown, I mean, he said it all off season. He's out for blood. He's only improved every year he's been in the NBA. He started his career as a guy coming out of Cal who had 0 jump shot and was literally kind of like a Derrick Jones Jr. kind of guy where he could he could
Mhm.
dunk really good, but he didn't really have anything else. And he's turned into a superstar player that just won Finals MVP. So, I mean, if this is also the year that Jaylen Brown was to ever be an MVP candidate, it would probably be this year.
All right. Interesting. And I feel like the Celtics as a conglomeration are like one of those group projects where everyone actually pulls their own weight. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, you remember in college, you get stuck on a group project, and there are some group projects where one guy organizes and does everything. That's the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic. And then you have a group project where everyone does something. I feel like that's Boston. That's going to hurt their the overall MVP chances. I actually feels weird for a guy that just won a title, but I moved Tatum down in my overall player rankings from I think I had him 5th or 6th last year, and now he's 8 or 9. And but
yeah.
just
Just number
I
wise. Yeah.
yeah, but I like hearing that perspective of yeah, we'll see. I think he's got a good chance at it.
Yeah, and I mean, if he doesn't win it, it wouldn't shock me either, just because like, you know, I can be the whole like, oh, the NBA hates Boston, rah 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 rah. They would never give a Celtic an MVP award or whatever. But
Mhm.
no, like it legitimately because SGA probably arguably could have won it last year. So if he has any season like he did last year and leads the Thunder to the 1 seed again, like I feel like it's gonna end up as his award.
Yeah. And like it's not like SGA doesn't have a lot of other good talent around him. I feel like there's just maybe a different perception because the Celtics guys are a little bit more established. And so,
Yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
looking at like SGA and you're like, well, he does have Chet, and you're like, yeah, but Kristaps is more established. We'll see who's actually better this year, or um, you know, J Dub versus Jalen Brown. But you know, we'll see. We'll figure it out. We'll get there.
And they got Alex Caruso, but we got Derek White, and so
Yeah. Yeah. I
it kind of
do.
it kind of feels like the Celtics just have like the upgraded version of everybody that the Thunder have right now. So,
Yeah. I want to see that matchup. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
oh yeah, for sure, it would be really fun to watch. And I don't know, I guess I can spew another hot take about the Celtics, but I think
Go
they'll have
on.
3 All Stars next year.
Who are the
I think
three?
it'll be I think it'll be Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. I think
You've
Derek White can legitimately take over as the third option on the Celtics, and I think he can put up the scoring numbers to make him an all-star. Because like there was an argument for him last year. Like I don't know how legitimate the argument was, but there was an argument for him last year. So maybe he's like a replacement player, but I think Derek White can be an all-star this
and I'm really disappointed in you, man.
year.
We just got on here. We just said how underrated Drew Holiday is. I expected this to be
I
the Drew
think
Holiday case.
I love Drew Holiday too, but Drew Holiday's that's not his role on the Celtics though. His role is to play elite defense and hit the timely shot. Like, I mean, He shot 60% from three last year, like corner three shoot last year. So I love Drew Holiday. I wish he was an all-star, but it's just not the role that he plays on the Celtics.
Hey, I remember the days when Andre Karolinko was in the All-Star game, and everyone's just like, "What is this guy doing here?
What are we
Get
doing?
Drew. It's time. It's time to rig the votes. You've got 100,000 followers on TikTok. I need you to lead this charge."
I can definitely try my best because, like, honestly, I mean, Drew Holiday was getting in on the Bucks, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he wasn't even having, as big a role as he did in years past. So
Just
we could probably get Drew into the All-Star game. We just gotta, ignore scoring numbers, but like look at every other metric. Drew Holiday is an All-Star.
just fan vote him in there. You got to get him over Trey, Donovan Mitchell, and Damian Lillard, and one of those guys will probably be hurt. So you really just got to get him to leapfrog one other guy.
Exactly. I mean, we almost got Derek White in there. We almost got Derek White in there before Scotty Barnes took it, which I still argue probably. I think Derek White still could have made it, but
listen, in my memory, there have been 3 teams that have done it. You got the Hawks with Horford, Millsap, Kyle Korver. I even forget who the other guy was. It Jeff Teague?
It was Jeff Teague. It was Teague, Korver, Horford. Was it DeMar Carroll?
I think it was Millsap. I think Carroll was the only starter to not make it.
And then, but like, wasn't someone like a write-in? Like there was like somebody who came in after.
Probably Korver, if anyone.
Probably.
Korver. But then you also got the Pistons with Sheed, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, and Chauncey Billups. Then you have, is it like the 97 Lakers with Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, Shaq, and Kobe? I'm just saying.
I mean,
these guys don't have to be elite. Like, get them in there.
It's the Eastern Conference, why not? Just throw them in for the vibes.
Oh, my bad. Jalen Brunson is also a guard. You do have to also get over Jalen Brunson.
True. I don't know. We can say Jalen Brunson's a lock already though. So
yeah,
I'll pick and choose my battles. I don't think I can go up against Jalen Brunson in the Knicks fan base. So
all right, then I just want to end it here. Out of 100%, I'm going to ask all of the other creators that I bring on, what is the chance of the Celtics winning the title?
All right, the Celtics homer inside of me says 100%. But I would say it's a legitimate like litmus test. I will go 75 to 80%.
Really? You think all of the other teams combine and have just 20%?
I mean, I don't know. It just kind of feels like the Celtics are just the best team when it comes out east, and then I think it'll just depend on who comes out of the west if the Celtics make the finals again. Like, barring any injury or any catastrophic thing happening, I still think the Celtics have a 75 to 80% chance of going back to the finals and winning.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Ian, thanks for coming on. Plug your things. I know you're doing some writing. I know you're on TikTok. What are all the links and socials?
Oh yeah, so it's Iangelo. It's IINANGELO on every social media platform: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Also a writer for Celtics blog. First article came out, I think it was last week. Drew Holiday a Hall of Famer? That's on CelticsBlog.com. You can just look up Ian and Angelo on there, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. You can find me, Nate_HoopsTemple on TikTok. You can email the show, hoopstemple@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.